right, happy Monday evening, July 25th, 2022. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Monday evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Monday evening, so let's get started right now. First up, we begin with the weather. Weather right now is 80 degrees, feels like 85 degrees, partly cloudy, and 92% chance of rain. There's been thunderstorms throughout the day today, and thunderstorms likely to end around 6 o'clock p.m. With a full weather forecast, let's go to meteorologist Haley LaPointe. Stormy Monday in New Hampshire, lower humidity ahead. Let's take a look at that full weather forecast from meteorologist Haley LaPointe right now. Good evening, Haley.
We need Maggie Hassan to keep fighting to lower costs for families. She worked with Republicans and Democrats to ban surprise medical bills. Now Maggie Hassan's taking on the big drug companies to give Medicare the power to negotiate lower drug prices.
I'm meteorologist Haley LaPointe. Here's an update on your forecast. We've had some nasty storms rolling through with heavy rain, lots of lightning, even some briefly gusty winds. That's all a possibility through the remainder of the afternoon and into the evening. This yellow area indicates about a 2 out of 5 chance of severe storms, and it will be scattered. Not everybody will see them, but if you do, it would be damaging winds, heavy downpours, and hail, all a possibility with these storms that are juiced up, feeding off of the moisture that we've got in the air, and there is a lot of it. Last couple of days, 6 days in fact, we were 90 plus. Yesterday we culminated the heat at 96 degrees in Concord, but today will be different. We won't be that hot. Temperatures will be in the 80s for the most part, even some mid to upper 70s in the North Country. But impact weather today due to a few rounds of showers, downpours, and storms moving through. Some of these storms, packing a punch with strong gusty winds and the heavy rain and frequent lightning. So if you have outdoor plans this afternoon, this evening, you want to keep an eye to the sky, have your mobile phone with the radar on it to check with these storms rolling through, and be prepared to get into a sturdy building if the storms get closer to you. But a totally different day coming tomorrow with sun. It'll be quieter, less humid, and cooler with temperatures in the 80s. Mid-80s Wednesday, still relatively low humidity, but that will start to creep up again by Thursday and Friday with highs in the 80s. A few storms possible Thursday and Friday, but this coming weekend, a lot of sunshine.
Okay, and there you go on that weather forecast from meteorologist Haley LaPointe. Thank you, Haley. And now let's get to your news for this evening. First up, Londonderry Turnpike closed in Auburn after utility poles, trees fall during storm. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
We need Maggie Hassan to keep fighting to lower costs for families. She worked with Republicans and Democrats to ban surprise medical bills. Now Maggie Hassan's taking on the big drug companies to give Medicare the power to negotiate lower drug prices.
Guys, I want you to take a look at this big tree behind me. This is the tree that fell in the middle of the road. You can see behind it there are some downed wires and a pole, but the big surprise here was for the driver of this red car, the tree just missing the front of it. Fire crews got the call around 2 o'clock for a car that had downed wires on top of it. Luckily, the driver was able to get out safely, and crews are here right now continuing to clean up the mess. That driver told us that he's lucky to be alive.
This gust of wind came by like you wouldn't believe. And the first thing I seen was the telephone poles. I can still see them in slow motion, right? And then something hit the windshield, which petrified me. I jammed on the brakes, and this is the result. But, I mean, you tell me God wasn't with me.
And I personally think that Dave should play the lottery, but he said he's okay. Eversource says they're trying to get the power back on by midnight, but this road will likely be closed throughout the evening. For now, we're live in Auburn. I'm Hannah Cotter, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Vladimir Zazovsky trial. Jurors receive instructions, view the crash scene. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Jurors gathered at the Coos County Courthouse this morning to be sworn in before traveling by bus about 20 miles to view 3 locations connected to the crash, 1 in Gorham and 2 in Randolph. Vladimir Zhukovsky stood for the reading of the charges today, 25 felonies, taking nearly 15 minutes for the clerk to read aloud. Jurors then got instructions on what to look for on the jury view. Prosecutors asked them to put themselves in the shoes of the driver, taking in what a driver might see. Defense attorneys asked them to take note of the distance between passing zones and the terrain of the road. Jurors are visiting the car dealership in Gorham where Zhukovsky was headed that day. They will also visit the crash scene in Randolph. They are not allowed to take notes or ask questions or discuss the scene with other jurors. Testimony begins tomorrow at 9 a.m. This trial is expected to be lengthy, 2 or 3 weeks. 104 names are on the witness list. Live in studio this noon, Amy Cavino, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Electricity rates about to climb in New Hampshire. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
It's Bentley Chevrolet's open road season. Experience the full line of new fuel-efficient Chevy vehicles arriving daily. Gas prices are no reason to stay home. From the neighborhood dealer who treats you like family.
Well, Jen, according to Eversource, customers use on average 25% more energy in the summer. So not only are energy supply rates going up, but it's at a time when customers typically use more. Eversource reports the average residential customer will see about a $70 increase for bills reflecting August usage. That's about a 50% hike to the current supply rate. It's due to rising global energy costs, according to the company, driving electric supply prices here in New Hampshire to all-time highs. According to Eversource, energy efficiency is a good tool to help save money. They recommend using larger appliances at lower demand times, not in the afternoon or evening, keeping blinds and shades closed in the heat, and cooking outside when it's hot. Some good news, though, rates will not go up until August 1st, so these higher prices were not in effect during last week's heat wave. Eversource is hosting a free webinar event tomorrow. It'll discuss financial assistance, payment plans, and energy efficiency programs. If you're interested in tuning in, we have a link to register on our website and our mobile app. Reporting live, Grace Feinerman, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Woman critically injured when personal watercraft collides with boat on Long Pond. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
We need Maggie Hassan to keep fighting to lower costs for families. She worked with Republicans and Democrats to ban surprise medical bills. Now Maggie Hassan's taking on the big drug companies to give Medicare the power to negotiate lower drug prices.
Yeah, Jamie, Marine Patrol says that jet ski was going really fast when it crashed into what was a stationary boat. In fact, so fast the jet ski and the 2 people on it went over the boat when they crashed. 3 of the 4 passengers who were on the boat were able to jump off just moments before the impact. The 4th person was able to duck below deck and avoid being hit. And then after that crash, the boaters then pulled the 2 jet skiers out of the water and applied a tourniquet to one of them who was bleeding profusely. That and one other fact likely saved their lives.
They were both wearing life jackets. If they were not wearing life jackets, it probably would have been a totally different outcome. So obviously, whenever you're underwater, you have to wear a life jacket. It's the safe way to be, and you be cognizant of your surroundings. And if you're not familiar with your equipment, you really probably shouldn't be operating it.
So on that note, Marine Patrol says the women on the jet ski were inexperienced behind the throttle. Investigation continues today. They say it includes talking to more witnesses, trying to gather video evidence, and also reconstructing the crash. In the studio, Steve Botari, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Biden's COVID symptoms improving, doctors say. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
All right, y'all know when they say your home is a reflection of you? Well, Helene found herself in a lamp. No joke. I got a fancy...
Now, in the latest on President Biden's battle with COVID, his personal physician says he's on the mend, and our senior national correspondent, Terry Moran, has the latest. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, George. By all the signs, Joe Biden is doing really well. That is the message that his physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor at the White House officials, and people like Dr. Ashish Jha, the White House COVID coordinator, are putting out after the president spent a weekend in isolation in the White House. First Lady was in Delaware, improving significantly. That's the word. And what that means is, remember the symptoms that the president complained about last week when he first came down with COVID. He had a runny nose, he had a dry cough, he had fatigue and body aches. Those have diminished considerably. The doctor says his lungs are clear. He has no shortness of breath at all, and he continues to be able to work. Now, the White House wants to emphasize that this is what is in the works for most people who get double vaccinated, double boosted, even at age 79, and this is his 5th day now on Paxlovid, which is a drug available to all Americans and really has a very powerful effect for those especially most at risk, like older Americans. So it's good news from the White House, and they're trying to use it as a teaching moment for the rest of us as well.
And the president likely infected by that BA.5 variant. That's the most prevalent strain in the U.S. right now.
It is. Right now, George, the CDC says that 87% of Americans are living in counties where there is a high risk or a medium risk of getting COVID. And what that means is that in those high-risk counties in particular, and that's 64% of Americans, the healthcare system can come under strain. Hospitalizations, deaths considerably lower than they were at the beginning of the pandemic. But when you get this much virus, you can get an impact on the healthcare system. That's what they're worried about.
Karen Moran, thanks very much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. That does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Have a great evening. Good night, goodbye.